Hello everyone, my name is Afifa Alum and I'm really pleased to be speaking with you about a topic that's central to the success and sustainability of any organization corporate governance. And the title of the presentation is Modern Corporate Governance, Laws, Rules and Best Practice. Over the next 10 to 15 minutes, I will guide you through Australia's key corporate governance, laws, rules, and involving best practices. We all also look at real world examples like Crown Resort and Connaughts that highlight both failures and lessons in governance. Let's begin with the basics. Moving to the next slide. What is corporate governance? Corporate governance is essentially the framework by which companies are directed and controlled. It's not just about the board of directors, it includes senior management, shareholders, and even broader stakeholders like employees, customers, and regulators. A good governance system helps ensure that the company operates ethically, transparently, and accountably. It promotes long-term value creation, manages risk, and maintains trust with the public. Think of governance as a balancing act, allying a wide range of interests while staying within legal and ethical limits. It's about creating checks and balance that keep organization on track. Moving to the next slide. What is business ethics? Now, closely tied to governance is the concept of business ethics. Ethics refers to the principles and values that guide behavior. For businesses, this means acting with integrity, fairness, and responsibility, even when the law doesn't specifically demand it. In today's environment, legal compliance is not always enough. Stakeholders expect ethical leadership, especially when decisions impact culture, reputation, on the environment. We have seen many companies fail not because they broke a law, but because they lost sight of what's right. Ethics and governance, when working together, help organizations lead with purpose and credibility. Moving to the next slide. Australian business structures and legal features. Let's talk about the legal foundations behind governance. In Australia, businesses can take several forms: sole traders, partnerships, trust, and companies. Of these companies are the most relevant when we talk about corporate business. Why? Because companies are separate legal entities, offer limited liability, and are governed by a comprehensive framework, namely the Corporations Act 2001. These legal features mean that companies must be run in a way that upholds obligations to shareholders, regulators, and society. The law expects a higher standard of governance from companies, especially publicly listed ones. Moving to the next slide. Corporate governance laws in Australia. Australia's governance landscape is shaped by both hard law and soft law. The Corporations Act 2001 is the backbone. It sets out directors' duties, disclosure obligations, and penalties for misconduct. Enforcement falls largely to ASIC, our national regulator, which has powers to investigate and prosecute breaches. Then there are soft law instruments like the ASX Corporate Governance Principles and Recommendations. These are not legally binding, but they represent industry best practice. Companies listed on the ASX must either comply with these principles or explain why they don't. Finally, we are also influenced by international standards from the UK, the US, and the OECD, especially as global investors and ESG expectations evolve. Moving to the next slide. Theories and principles of corporate governance. Corporate governance is not just about rules. It's based on theories that help us understand power dynamics and responsibilities within a company. One key theory is agency theory. It's based on the idea that managers, agents may not always act in the best interest of shareholders' principles, especially if left unchecked. Governance frameworks are designed to align those interests and ensure accountability. Then we have stakeholders theory, which is more modern. It says that companies must consider the interest of all stakeholders, not just shareholders. This includes employees, customers, suppliers, and even the environment. Legally, directors must meet several statutory duties. Section 180, duty of care and diligence. Section 181, duty to act in good faith and in the best interest of the company. Section 182 and 183, duties not to misuse position or information. These duties apply to all directors and officers and they underpin trust in your corporate system. Moving to the next slide. COVID-19 and corporate governance challenges. Let's now consider how governance was tested during a crisis, the COVID-19 pandemic. Businesses across Australia faced complex and overlapping challenges. Legal risk, like compliance with employment laws and contract obligations. Economic shocks, including revenue loss and disrupted supply chains. Social pressures with remote work, job insecurity, and workforce morale. Environmental and regulatory uncertainty. Sectors like aviation, tourism, and retail were hit particularly hard. In this environment, good governance was not optional, it was essential. Board needs to make rapid decisions, communicate clearly, manage risk proactively, and adapt to constant change. Some succeed, others did not. Moving to the next slide. Case study Crown Resort governance failures. Crown Resort is a high profile example of governance gone wrong. Investigations revealed that the company enabled money laundering, ignored red flags, and turned a blind eye to criminal activity linked to junket operators. Key governance failures included a lack of board independence, weak compliance systems, failure to act on international risk report. The NSW Bergin inquiry and the later reports found that Crown had failed in its fiduciary duties and had not acted in the best interest of shareholders or the public. The consequences were served loss of casino license, board resignations, legal action, and a tarnished brand. This is a stark reminder that governance is more than box ticking. It's about doing the right thing even when no one is watching. Moving to the next slide. Case study Connaught's governance breakdown. More recently, Connaught's made headlines not for its flights but for its governance issues. In 2023, the airline was accused of selling tickets for flights that had already been cancelled, unlawfully outsourcing jobs to block industrial action, mishandling flight credits for COVID era booking. These actions sparked widespread reputational damage, legal security, and shareholder dissatisfaction. It became a case study in erode stakeholder trust. Since then, Konath has taken steps to repair the damage. Board and leadership changes, governance reviews, stronger stakeholder engagement. This case shows that even iconic brands must prioritize governance and that rebuilding trust is much harder than maintaining in the first place. Moving to the next slide. Best practice corporate governance. So, what does good governance actually look like? Best practice includes clear and enforceable director duties, robust risk management frameworks as outlined in ASX Principle 7, corporate culture grounded in ethics and accountability, alignment with industry codes such as the Banking Code of Practice, and crucially, responsiveness to stakeholders' expectations, especially around ESG. Ultimately, governance is not about avoiding travel, it's about building a resilient, sustainable, and trusted organization that earns its social license to operate. And my last slide about my references, and I gave 5 to 6 references here. So thank you so much. I hope this session gave you useful insights into the legal and strategic dimensions of corporate governance and how it plays out in real world scenarios.